Madam Chairwoman. I first want to say that I appreciate you holding this hearing today on the topic, but I do want to focus on an industry that, though it isn't necessarily addressed in these legislative proposals, it is desperately in need of clarity as it pertains to securities laws and how we protect investors. And that's cryptocurrencies. It's already been addressed by Mr. Sherman, and this is a rapidly growing industry. It's poised to disrupt many parts of our markets and could be transformative for many parts of our financial lives. With yesterday's announcement that Facebook is launching their own cryptocurrency, along with partners such as Visa, Lyft, MasterCard, Andreessen Horowitz, and many other reputable global firms, it is a sign that these digital assets aren't just going to go away. It is important that we maintain core investor protections while at the same time figuring out a principled way to enable American markets to flourish. And toward that end, I've introduced the Token Taxonomy Act. It would define what is and what is not a security. This is a nonpartisan approach. I have everyone from myself and Josh Gottheimer in this committee, on this subcommittee even, Tulsi Gabbard, Darren Soto, Eric Swalwell. I think there are some folks left of Swalwell and some folks right of me. We have ideological spectrum covered here in Congress. So 8 members currently, and we're loading it up 2 by 2 to try to address the regulatory certainty. Mr. Crimmins, recently you wrote about the first draft of this, and we collected input in December. Until April, we reintroduced this legislation. What questions are facing investors in digital assets as it pertains to securities laws, and how is regulatory uncertainty hurting investors in this market?
Right, thank you, and I appreciate what you did in the Token Taxonomy Act with your colleagues on both sides of the aisle. This is something that is really different from what it was 2 or 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago when we talked about cryptocurrency, it was this murky, secretive stuff that was trying to get transactions, financial activities away from government, away from Wall Street, put it under a blanket, use it to funnel drug money and terrorist financing, really scary stuff. And that still is something that we do have to deal with. But what we're seeing now is what you're talking about, I would suggest, with Libra and some of the other initiatives we've seen more recently, one recently approved by the SEC, and that is a recognition that blockchain technology, the distributed ledger, which allows for security in financial transactions, can be used legitimately. It's not only the people under the blanket tried to hide their activities, it can be used legitimately. But how? How to get it right.
Well, yes, and so when you talk about how to get it right, it's interesting. They didn't leave the United States to avoid sunlight. Facebook has attracted all the attention they can in the whole world, and where did they go? They went to Switzerland, where they have regulatory certainty. It's not clear that it's truly distributed in the sense that a nonprofit controls it. It's not true that it's not clear from all that was published in the white paper, but are there places that are providing the certainty that are ahead of us in providing clarity for investors and people that would launch the product?
That's the problem. When regulation began, there were small jurisdictions, I think Malta and
Liechtenstein.
Now we have Switzerland, which is not exactly a small player in the financial scene, leading the way ahead of America. That shouldn't be. And they have Crypto Valley and all the stuff they're doing there. They're trying to get it right, but the choices they make shouldn't be the ones that dominate the world. The choices that dominate the economies generally should be the ones made by this country, the largest economy in the world. We should be, in a considered fashion by your colleagues here on both sides, working in a bipartisan fashion, as you are with Token Taxonomy.
Thank you for that. And when you look, these are American firms broadly launching it. We have the ideas, we have the innovation. What we don't have is Congress providing this certainty. And I appreciate the challenge the SEC's been up against, the CFTC's been up against, and frankly, we're waiting for Congress to act. One of the main reasons for having disclosures in security laws is the reduction in information asymmetry between the investor and a promoter of an investment. And sometimes the promoter of the investment, as has been illustrated, isn't an entity. Satoshi Nakamoto who is this? There's no headquarters for Bitcoin. It's always left a quandary. How do you do it? Some of these others are transparent and they're launching it, but if it's truly decentralized and can no longer be altered, how do we do it? We need the certainty. So thank you for that, and I look forward to further discussions. I think Facebook may have finally tipped the balance to where there's momentum and more people at least understand some of the nature of blockchain.
Thank you. The gentleman.